Welcome to CodeJumper. This is lesson 3 about parameters. The lesson objective for this lesson is that students will understand the definition of a parameter, how the term parameter is used in computer science, and how to use parameters in the programs that they develop. Expected outcomes are that all students will be able to identify and change parameters in existing programs. Most students will use parameters as they create a new program, and some students will be able to explain what a parameter is and how it is used to create new programs using specific criteria. Parameter is a key vocabulary word. A parameter is a value that is given to a command. For example, the note in which to play. A sound set is the other key vocabulary word. Up to 8 related sounds assigned to a single connector that can be changed in the app. We're going to start off this lesson with an unplugged activity. The objective of this part will be that students will learn what parameters are in computer science. The materials you'll need are a whiteboard or a device to record student responses. Have near-point materials available as needed. And you're going to need parameter cards with sound and duration categories for students. There are a couple of options to choose from to print out or cut out the parameter cards. However, you need to be able to hand it to a student. To start the lesson, begin by brainstorming everyday parameters that occur in your class or your school. For example, the start or the stop time of school or recess. Explain that a parameter is a value that is given to a command. Then give each student one of the parameter cards you've already prepared before the lesson. Line students up and say, "Run," which should trigger the first student in line to perform the sound and duration that's written on the card. So in this example, what's on screen is an unplugged parameter card number 1. The sound is snap fingers and the duration is 3 beats. So the first student in line would snap their fingers for 3 beats, and then that would trigger the next person in line who has parameter card number 2 to clap their hands for 1 beat, and then on to parameter card number 3, which the sound is tweet and the duration is for 2 beats. And so all the way down the line, students would practice that. Next, discuss how the parameters on their cards could be adjusted or maybe modified somehow. Students could either stand or make a higher tone or a lower tone or change the duration of the sound. Let students get a little bit creative with this. This can be kind of fun sometimes. Then let them run again and try their program with these new parameters. Once a group gets the hang of this activity, it can be done during other times of the day. For example, you could say, "The parameter is to whisper your favorite book character as you walk past the library." Anything like that. Vocabulary building like this can happen all day long. Moving on to the guided activity. The objective of the guided activity in this lesson is to follow an algorithm that uses parameters. Recreate a program that plays Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and read and recreate a text program. The vocabulary is the same, parameter and sound set, and the materials that you'll need for this section are the CodeJumper Hub, 4 play pods, a device with the app, and the parameter code cards for numbers and a second set for explosion. So in this guided activity, we want to make sure students understand the connection between CodeJumper and where the parameters are in CodeJumper, what they are, what's a value. So on the screen, there's an example of the app, and it has a thread 1. This one happens to be nature. That's the sound parameter. That's our sound set that we have chosen. The next line down says play waves for 2 times speed. Play is the command, and the parameter is the sound, which could be waves or it could be the speed. We're going to start making that connection with the physical pods with CodeJumper, but we're going to do it pretty slowly this first time as a little bit of a demonstration. And you can have your students follow along with you, or you can do it as a demo one at a time. So I'm going to switch my camera over to the app and my document camera. And my document camera has 4 play pods here. They are not connected. The first one is connected to the hub, and then the other 3 are not connected yet. I'm going to do that as I go, as I talk through each of these. But first, I just want to have one play pod connected and demonstrate and kind of talk to the students about what the parameter is for the sound dial. So we're going to start with the sound dial, and I'm just going to turn the dial and let them listen to the sounds.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 1.
We want them to figure out how many values there are in the sound parameter. And with numbers being my sound set right now, it should be easy for them to come up with 8. There are 8 different values that we could choose from. We don't have to use all 8 in our program. In fact, for this one, we're just going to use 4. The second thing we want students to listen to is the duration dial. So I'm going to turn just with one play pod. I'm going to turn the duration dial until I roll through all of the durations of that sound and see if they can listen carefully and hear how many values there are to pick from. Here's 1.5. Here's 2 times speed, 0.5 times speed, and 1 times speed. So they should come up with 4. Next, I'm going to connect all 4 of my play pods into the first play pod. So in this example where I have the hub connected to 4 play pods in thread 1, I might ask students to listen to the code being read aloud or look at the code in the app and see if they can predict what this program is going to sound like when you press play. So I'm going to press play and stop at exactly the same time to hear the code read aloud.
Thread 1 numbers. Play 1 for 1 times speed. Play 2 for 1 times speed. Play 3 for 1 times speed. Play 4 for 1 times speed. End thread.
So at this point, students should predict that it's going to sound like this.
1, 2, 3, 4.
You can also move forward into changing the duration and speeding it up a little bit and asking for a prediction of what will happen and what will it sound like if you change all of the durations to 2 times speed and so forth. I'm going to switch back to my PowerPoint deck. Next, after students have listened to this, they're going to get a chance to do it on their own. And hopefully they're familiar with the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star song. If not, you might want to play it for them ahead of time. And then encourage students to have 4 play pods and their hub out and see if they can create Twinkle Twinkle Little Star from that sound set. They'll have a lot of fun changing the parameter values and speeding, or the duration parameter values, and speeding up or slowing down the song. And that's part of the fun of this. In the exploration part of this lesson, students are going to create a program with 8 play pods. They're going to set the sounds on each pod and run and trace the program. They'll make predictions based on the written code. So for the materials that you're going to need for this section are the code cards for explosion and the code cards for numbers, a code jumper kit for each student or group of students, and their computer science journal. Start by showing them this line of thread and maybe even create it ahead of time and have it read aloud and see if students can predict just from the code what it's going to sound like. Then give them a chance to sort of play on their own and explore with Code Jumper and see if they can recreate this code card. Similar to a recipe, you're going to try and follow the recipe with Code Jumper and see what happens. After they've had a few minutes to recreate the explosion code card with their code jumper, have them review their predictions and discuss how changing even one value in a parameter can change the entire story. A lot of that has to do with the last line of code. Anyway, this is it for lesson about parameters.